these are kind of the most common question areas that people have uh, in terms of how they do marketing. Obviously, strategy, what's your overall strategy for any business, and senior care in particular? And then, well, what do I do with my website and what kind of content and social media? And what about email marketing or reviews? And how do I do paid ads? So we're not going to cover all that gamut tonight, but what I sent you kind of has a little highlight in each of those areas. Not really going to take but a minute here on strategy. Uh, it's I think it's just important to remember who your target market is. Yes, you're going to be caring for seniors, but your target market really is their kids. Um, usually it's the daughter of mom that's leading the charge. Sometimes, I mean, obviously there's all kinds of varieties in how that works out, but that's your real target market, who you're trying to reach with your content and your information. That you've got to convince daughter that, hey, this is a place that I would really want to be able to have my mom be cared for. So I think that's the main thing that you have to keep in mind on that. So we'll jump into website. Just some key basic things that you got to have in place. Um, there's a lot of assumptions I think that happen. Uh, Websites are being built on so many different platforms now. WordPress kind of has been the standard in many ways. But there's so many new platforms and different platforms to build sites on. We have our own platform that we build sites on as well. Um, and and I think there's some assumptions that, if we build a website, we're building it when I'm looking at it on a desktop computer, that it's going to be fine on a mobile. And even with these great tools out there, it's not automatic. So even when you're using some of the modern tools, uh, taking time um, to work on the mobile version of the site is really really important. Um, there's a lot of these platforms, and I see a lot of folks building sites kind of in general with lots of moving things and things flashing and bouncing around and all these different things. And that's kind of okay if you're looking at it on a desktop, but um, if you actually dig into your analytics, most of us are going to see that more than 50%, and for some it's going to be significantly more, but more than 50% of your traffic is coming from a mobile device. And uh, so it's really important that that's kind of where we start. Um, Google, and this has been a couple years ago now, when they index your website, they index the mobile version first before they even index the desktop version. There's essentially two different search engines. There's one for mobile, there's one for desktop. But they're going to index you first based on the mobile for it. So it really is an important piece um, to that. How fast this is becoming more and more of an issue. I can't see that Google's necessarily penalizing folks from an SEO standpoint, but from a usability standpoint, it's a big deal. And again, if I'm on my mobile phone and it's taking too long for a website to load, I'm not going to wait for it. I'm going to I'm going to bounce off and look for the next thing. Um, the security, the SSL, um, up here in the right of the site, if you click on this, it's like connection is secure. If it's not, it'll say right here, not secure. And there's still sites that come up with that um, for various reasons. Still important to do. And remember the goal. We haven't talked about the goal. The goal is to get more clients. The goal is that the phone rings and someone calls you and says, "Hey, I'm interested in your community and want someone to move in." And then the rule of 3 clicks. Uh, you can't, you got to make things really simple. If I have to dig around too much to get to the important information on your site, then I'm like, I can't, I'm gone. Like I'm out. Like make it easy for me to find the most important information. And what's that key content? Really, um, got to have a homepage about like who you are, like tell a story. Really put some effort into your about page, talk about who you are and why you're doing this, and talk about your team um, and the people involved. Have pictures of the people that are in your community, so people can get an idea of what that looks like. Obviously, a contact page, all the various services, what they entail. A lot of those are pretty similar in assisted living, but maybe there's things you do differently. Maybe there's things that you do that are more unique, and you want to kind of call those unique things out. Like what's different when you look at your nearest competitors, what are things that they're not doing that you do, um, and highlighting those things. Your gallery, the pictures of in particular of the rooms and of your community, your common living spaces, the outdoors. Those pictures are super important. I beg my clients to get those pictures made. Um, and there's a lot of the real estate photographers out there that are used to taking those really high quality pictures, and those are perfect for doing to then have on your website. Because again, there's a lot to assisted living that might be similar to like renting an apartment. Like I'm gonna look at the pictures of the place. I want to see kind of what might be like, and so those pictures become really important. Floor plans don't necessarily always make sense depending on the size of your home. But they're helpful. If you can add floor plans, and even if you can, we've taken for some clients, I'm just like, can you sketch it out on a piece of paper? And then I'll get a graphics designer to like make it look nice, to give you a decent kind of floor plan for the space. So FAQs are a big one. What are frequently asked questions that people have when they want to move into assisted living? Providing those questions there. Um, and this is a tough one too, and I don't really call it out here, but I mean the biggest question that most people have is how much does it cost? And um, I think everybody has a different opinion on that. Do I put that on my website? Do I put my pricing on my website, or do I wait for them to contact me first? And I can't say I have a strong feeling one way or the other from my perspective. But just something to think about for those of you that are owning and running them. Is it is it better to have a lead that already knows your price when they're calling you, or um, so you got to kind of answer this yourself. But I got, you know, 5 new leads in whatever period of time, and I got one move in, and the other 4 said it was too much money. Well, then maybe that's, do I want to take a lot of time with somebody that I know is not going to have enough money, or do I just talk to the people that have the money? So you decide. I'm just throwing out ideas. Uh, Blog page, adding content. So uh, in general, on the content side, adding fresh content super important, and uh, it's there's a little bit that's changing with search. I don't know if you guys have noticed if you're doing Google searches, Google's starting to insert their Gemini AI into the search results. Um, and I don't think it's going to necessarily give dramatically different results. Gemini is still a little rough, but um these they're learning fast. They're getting these things geared up. So relevant content and really good content is still just as important as it's always been, and will continue to be. And so if you want to have a place to even start to compete in a general organic search, then that content is going to be key. And guess what? You can use AI to help you write the content. Like you guys know the business, your expertise, but use AI to assist you. Like, have a few ideas, throw them in, flesh it out, make it better, and add a human touch to it, and add that content to your site. Activities or activities calendars are super important. Menu is super important, and of course pricing. It is there. I did talk about it. High quality images, video. If you can do video tours, those are really awesome. Having a video tour, or even just the virtual tours where they kind of click through is good too, as well. But any kind of use of video is going to be super helpful. Not to like bore people too much, there's a structure to the SEO. So you're going to see this in the handout. I'm not going to go through all this, but having your domain name, the page title, the page description, kind of the content that's on the page. I'll give you an example of a page. So this is one of our clients, been a client for a long time. So we're trying to focus this page around assisted living Littleton, which I don't know if you know, is probably one of the most competitive space areas in the city. Um, at least in the metro area. I feel like there's an assist. It's like Starbucks in Littleton. Like that's what assisted living is. Like there's one on every corner. I feel like so it's very hard to compete in a search in Littleton, but we've managed to, without a lot of huge effort or huge cost, been able to keep this page on about um, 6. So in that first page of Google, you got 1 through 10. We've kind of been at 6 for a long time. Everything that's above 6, like, going to take a serious investment of content and link building and other things to compete, because there's just all the big people are beating them out. So I'm pretty happy with 6 and being able to maintain that in such a competitive, tight area. But we've got the URL. We have assisted living in the main title of the page, or in the main headline of the page. 2 locations there. And I had some great content put together on this page, like how to know when it's time for assisted living, how to talk to your loved ones about moving, 5 things that distinguish Lighthouse Assisted Living, um, more about the owners, different locations, contact form. So it's a pretty healthy page in terms of the amount of content there. But I mean, you don't have to stop with this. It could be more. Like this could be even beefier. And as you look at trying to be more competitive in terms of content, it's something you can always come back and look at and go, okay, how do we make it better? How can we improve this? And what are the other pages that are doing pretty well in the area? So just to give you an idea on that. Um, yeah, so a little bit on the local search side of things. One of the one of the really key things, we're going to talk about Google Business Profile here in a minute. And that is maybe the number one most important thing. Um, But let's talk a little bit about local search. But let me throw this in just about website and website content. Um, there's the in marketing in general, there's this idea of owned media. What's the stuff that I actually own in terms of my marketing? And everything that you see on a website ultimately is that your logo, your branding, your vision, your mission, your purpose, uh, and what makes you unique compared to all the other assisted living places. How are you a little bit different, unique? And maybe that's because of you as an owner. You know, Lighthouse Assisted Living is nurse owned and managed. That's a little bit different. Like not everybody's a nurse that owns and runs their homes. What are ways that you are emphasizing what makes you unique or different that's going to attract somebody? Uh, but when you think about it, in terms of what I own and where do I invest the most in terms of my time, energy, and some money if I have it, um, I always say invest it in what you own. And ultimately, you own your website. You have control of your website. You have control of that content. And if you've got like, oh, I've got a little money and I need to improve my website, I need to get better content, I need to do other things, then the website is one of the best things that you can do because ultimately you own that. The more you enhance it, the more you make it better, then the better it's going to be uh, because you have control of that. Versus just doing, Facebook. If you're doing Facebook and you're using social media marketing, that's awesome. But Facebook could change the rules. Facebook could kick you off. And if that were a good channel for you and all of a sudden you weren't there, that would be gone. You don't own that. So if I'm trying to decide how do I split up some budget of funds, um, I try to emphasize, what's the stuff you actually own that you can really enhance and improve and make better. Um, so one of the things that makes a difference with your website is links, getting links to your website from other websites. And it's not easy to do. There are ways to do it. We have companies that we work with that we pay a lot of money to go out and build links for us that either have their own networks or they reach out to other networks to build those links. And those are important and they help. But you can be super creative with this and get good local links. Things that are good links. Your local chamber of commerce, being a member of your local chamber of commerce, and all of them usually use basically one or two different marketing platforms, membership platforms. And historically, those have been very good links to have coming back to your website. So chambers of commerce. So yeah, do you have to pay for that to be a member? Yep, you do. But it's a great link and can help your website. Seniors Blue Book has an option. It's Seniors Blue Book can be not cheap, it can be expensive, but they have digital version of their services, and having a link from Seniors Blue Books, it's a good link to have. Um, the other thing to think about is to get creative. Um, Again, this may not work with every location that someone has. Uh, but there are local charities that do food drives or do clothing drives. And you could offer to be a drop off location for that for your neighborhood. Um, but in exchange in the conversation with them, can you make sure that you put us on your website and make sure you have a link on your website to our website as a part of being a drop off location for you. And those are very good, strong local signals to Google that are very quality, high quality links that are coming back to your website. So um, just a couple of ideas there, like how can we do some things on our own that are just some decent ways to get links versus paying Peter hundreds of dollars a month to go out and get links for you if you don't have that kind of budget. All right. Before we jump into the Google Business Profile, questions? Yes, no, yes. Michelle?
Peter, it's Michelle. I have a question. How do you
Mhm.
feel about stock photos versus actual photos of actual residents?
Well, so um, that it can be challenging to do if you have nothing else, yeah, use stock photos. If you can get photos of residents and can get the agreement from them and their families, um, what you have to remember is that you probably need to continue to take pictures because sometimes these folks pass away and then their families get a little like, hey, we don't want our mom's picture on the website anymore. So um, I think it's genuine. I think it's way more authentic if you can have pictures of your actual residents. Um, but again, it's a challenge to do it really tastefully and to make it work. But it's something you can talk to your families about and say, hey, we really want to represent what we have here, and get their permission and their release on uh, being able to take the photos and to use them in your marketing and have them on the website. So because the stock photos, everybody knows they see like stock photos. It doesn't do much to differentiate, but having pictures of your own residence that'll set you apart. That'll make you different for sure. Because very few people do that. Um, and have actual pictures of their residents on there. So
Peter, on the links in the
yeah,
Google Juice, as we
yeah,
used to call it.
yeah.
How strong are videos these days? It used to be pretty strong, but what's it like now?
Well, so video will drive traffic, not necessarily so much because you get a lot of out of just in general the link itself. But if you're making videos, and you should be doing videos all the time, and if you're uploading videos to Facebook, to your Facebook page, upload those to YouTube. I mean, YouTube is besides Google search engine, YouTube is like the second biggest search engine there is. People are searching stuff on YouTube all the time. And so adding your videos on YouTube with the link back to your website in the description, um, it's helpful. It's not necessarily super strong Google juice, but if people are using it and YouTube and they come across the video there, then it's easier to drive that traffic back to your website when you have that link with the video or anywhere you have the video. I would have a link back to your website. Just in general, when you're doing any kind of you're adding pictures to Facebook, you're doing any kind of social, make sure you're adding a link back to your website. That's again, that's your own media. You always want to be driving people back to your website. So whatever marketing you do anywhere, make sure you're linking back to your website.
Peter,
Okay.
what about plugins from Facebook or Instagram directly, like using with WordPress right to your website? Because this way, when you update your Facebook, your content is obviously changing on your website continuously
Yeah.
without having to do two.
Yeah, it's a great way to keep it fresh. I mean, I wouldn't say it necessarily gives you a bunch of of ranking or link juice, but it's a way to keep it fresh. So when people are coming to your site, they're seeing something new and something different. and can engage with it there. Um, so yeah, just in terms of keeping content fresh, up to date, and engaging, absolutely. I mean, those are great ways to do it. Yeah, either like an Instagram feed or you can still add a Facebook feed. Uh, that still works too. Good questions. Feel free to jump in with more questions as you have them. All right, so um, to get to your Google business profile, you go to business.google.com. It's where you'll find it. This is mine. But then I also manage a bunch for other folks. And when you want to go edit, this is how you do it now. It used to be way better, in my opinion, with how they used to have it, because you just did it kind of inside the app. And now it's like, am I really editing or am I on a web page? Like, I don't know what's happening here. But if you see this and you see all these options, you are at your Google business profile, you have access to it. You're able to edit it and to do what you want to do here with it. A lot of your options are on these three dots. If you click the three dots, you can get into your business profile settings, what kind of notifications you want. And if you have other business profiles, you can switch back and forth between them. And they give you lots of ideas here. Like, a lot of times people are like, Google is keeping the secret on how the algorithm works. And they may not come right out and say it, but what you kind of have to do is like watch what are the things that they promote. What are things that Google is saying is important. So you can add links in here to your. So this is your panel that comes up. There's a lot of information in this panel that users can engage with. It's not all automatic. Like these, you have a control over a lot of this information that shows up here. So the idea being that the more that I can add to this, the more that people are going to engage with it and build trust. It's really about building trust at this point so that people can go to the next level. And the thing we have to remember, again, especially if we're doing a mobile search, mobile or desktop, doesn't really matter. The first thing that comes up is not a website. It's the Google profiles. So it's very location based. So the number one things that determines what's going to show up. Now this is showing me extra. You won't see that, but I have an ads account running here. But the first thing you see are ads. So these are sponsored ads. And then your places. But this is all the Google Maps listings. So you've got a good idea that you can see what's going on with my competition. So if you're like, oh, I don't know why I'm not showing up. Well, let's look at your competition. How many reviews do they have? How complete are their profiles? How far away are they from that particular, from where you're doing the search? Because that's a big factor in that. There's Lighthouse. So this is the first thing that comes up. So this becomes super important. Now, the challenge being one of the number one things is getting more reviews. And it's very hard to get a lot of reviews as a small, especially if you're an 8-bed community. It's not like you have a lot of people coming in and out every month to build up the reviews. So this particular location for Lighthouse has 10 reviews. And honestly, if you can get uh, if you could get one new review every month, that I think it would be hard to do, to consistently get one new review as a small community. But if you could, over time, that's going to really add up and make a huge difference, make a significant difference in overall search results. So the Google reviews and getting the reviews there are huge. I think it's something you have to really think about. I think it's something you have to have a plan for. I think it's something you should train your staff and train your families. Every person that comes in your building, um, hospice, people from hospice, if there's a nurse coming in, if there's, um, other vendors coming, like anybody you can ask to write you a review, you've got to do it to help boost the number of reviews that you have. It's really, really important. Some of the things that you can, well, and before I move on to something else, you always want to respond to all your reviews, like do a heartfelt thank you. Sometimes you're going to get a negative review. Sometimes those are the most common negative reviews, unfortunately, that I see are from former employees. Um, and and even when you're like, they were stoned and they showed up to work stoned and you had to fire them. Sometimes they get really mad and write negative reviews, which doesn't make any sense to me. I think that kind of is like, well, you showed up to work stoned. I mean, what do you think was going to happen? But they'll go out and write a negative review. Uh, those are not valid reviews, just so you know. If someone works for you and they go and write a negative review for whatever reason, that is not a valid review, and you can report that review, and Google most of the time will take those down. Most of the time you can get those removed. The other thing that happens and it's usually similar situation where someone got fired and they got mad, and then they told their friend about it, and their friend goes and writes a review and writes a negative review. Well, that person never did business with your community. That person never even walked in the door. That is also not a valid review. And that is in violation of Google's terms of service for review. So you can report that. Again, sometimes I don't know why um, it doesn't come down. And sometimes I just keep reporting it. Like I'll report it, I'll report it this month, and 3 months from now, it's still there. I'll report it again. And then nothing will happen for a while. Then all of a sudden it's gone. So reviews that truly aren't valid, you can report, and usually those ones that aren't valid like that can get removed. So did
I
you have
had
a
a
question,
question.
Linda? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question on that with reviews. Somebody had told me that if you get a great review, you should like add your name in, like, oh, thank you so much for thinking of the Lodge at Plummer Point. But if you get a crappy review, you just say, oh, I'm sorry that this facility didn't suit your needs, so that they're only searching positive when your name pops up. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, totally. So when I respond to reviews, even for myself, I'll kind of embellish a little bit. I'll be like, yeah, your website project had a lot of pages and we added an e-commerce option, and like I will add to it because that stuff winds up in the search engine. And in particular, one of the things that the AI is doing is what what it's going to start to do, and we're kind of seeing this a little bit. It's going to scan all the reviews and all the responses that you gave, and it's going to provide a summary. Here's what you can learn about this business just from their reviews. And so, yeah, I would, yeah, talk about your community and what they liked about it. And, ideally they're adding some things in there. They're saying, yeah, your food's great, or the service, or like they're being specific about the area or what it was that they really liked. Um, but yeah, I tend to on my own kind of expand on, because a lot of times people are like, oh, that I'm like, hey, they'll say, wow, thanks, you did a great job, awesome, will you write me a review? Oh yeah, sure. They're like, yeah, Peter was great to work with. Well, what does that mean? Like, that doesn't mean a whole lot. Like, tell me what I did, like what was so great about working with me, you know? I mean, I know I'm handsome, but that's not, it can't be everything. So that's a joke, guys. You're supposed to laugh. All right. Vern's laughing. Thanks, Vern. Okay. So yeah, so the reviews is a huge piece. And I've spent a lot of time talking about it because it's that important. It is that big of a deal in this. And it's one of those things that you have to put intention to and work on and provide training. Um, you know, create a piece of paper that says this is, if someone says something great, hand them this piece of paper and it has the instructions on how to leave us a review. You know, and then let somebody else know so that someone else can follow up and make sure, did we get the review or not? Like it's that big of a deal, I believe, to you know, to put a lot of effort into that. So all right, let's talk about some of the stuff that's in here. And I'll go over this pretty quick, but there's a lot of things in here that you can enhance. So we can add social profiles. So this is pretty new thing that you can add links to your other social profiles. So I need to do that. And then there's a lot of information that you can add. More general text, information about accessibility. That's probably a good thing to have for your community. Any immunities? Is it a children-friendly place? What kind of crowd show up? Different things there, and then service options. So there's a lot of service options that you can add, language wise, things like that. Let's see here. Here I can edit services further. So you can see we've added a ton of their services in here, like all the different things that you have. You can add in here. Now, this is a pretty basic list, but you can even go to the next step. It gives you a whole place where you can put a whole description. You got another 300 words here that you can, you know, describe this and provide more information about this. So again, more content that Google wants to promote for you. These services and building this out is like just it's an easy no-brainer kind of place to do that. And you can do that with whatever business you you have in there. Photos,
Peter,
another go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. How do you actually, so we acquired an assisted living facility. How do
Yep.
we get access to the Google profile? I assume it looks like it's affiliated with an email, a Google, or a Gmail account.
Usually it's yeah, usually it's a Gmail account. What you can do is you know, if you search your business, so I'm already on this one and I can edit my information, but let me see. Let's do this. Let me go to somebody that's not, and so we can see what it shows. So here it says suggest an edit or own this business. So if the previous folks have not given you access, if you click on own this business, you can request ownership. And typically what happens is it will say, all right, we've sent a sometimes it'll let you get access to it right away. You just got to verify it and they'll do it because someone hasn't been actively managing it. So once in a while you get really lucky. But if not, it'll say, all right, we sent an email to the current owner. And basically we'll give them 7 days to respond to this, to either allow you to manage this or take it over or not. If they don't respond in 7 days, then you can verify it yourself and take it over.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the process to do that. And that's pretty standard thing. If you don't have any access and you have no idea how to get access, then you can do it that way. But yeah,
And
usually
that won't take apart like anywhere how it's coming up currently in the searching. Like if
No.
it's ranked pretty high, it won't change anything, right?
It
Okay.
won't mess up. Yeah, it won't mess up anything that's already in place. It'll still be there out there live, but then you'll be able to access it at that point and edit it and update it and because again, sometimes if you kept the same name, fine, and you've got the same logo and stuff in there, but maybe you changed the name, you got a different logo. Again, plus all the enhancements that you can add to it, is definitely something you want to do to it.
Great, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Um, so I was just going to talk about photos, adding photos there. So we've got kind of a mix. We've got some stock photos. We've got some pictures of residents, rejected. Oh, see, even though you can do stuff, sometimes Google doesn't like it. Google doesn't like the pictures of people. They like the fake people though. They're fine with fake people. Well, that one's not fake. So again, you got to do this. You got to put content. Sometimes Google's going to like it. Sometimes they don't. So you got to keep trying. But adding more pictures on a regular basis is one of the other things that you can do. You can also do the what we call an update. So a basic update is you can drop in a photo, add a description, and then do a learn more, and then link back to your website. And where that shows up then, you'll see down here, here's these updates. So again, it's a little bit extra content that shows up that people can engage with. And again, it drives them back to your website, but gives you more relevant content that you're able to let folks engage with. Is it okay for you to ask for reviews? Well, right here, Google says it is, regardless of what anyone else says, because it says ask for reviews. And it gives you a nice short little link here to send out to folks to ask for Google reviews. So I think if Google's telling me this here, it's probably okay for me to ask for reviews and ask a lot. Talks about adding a map to your website so you can embed the Google map on your website if you want to. It's telling you get more reviews here, create an offer. You can set up a scheduling link on inside the Google Business Profile. Let's look at performance. So one thing I want to mention on this is here you can go through and pick out your dates and stuff. For a long time, you've been able to see calls. So calls that come through your Google Business Profile, and this only relates to on a mobile device. So if someone's on a mobile device, they see your business profile, there's a button there that says call. They hit that button and call you. It registers here in this reporting that's where it come from. Doesn't work that way on a desktop because we have separated things. Like the phone's connected to the page. My phone is not connected to my monitor here. So there's no way for those to connect. However, in like a month, this whole call tracking is going away. Like it's just going to be gone. Google just came out and said here earlier this week that they're not tracking calls anymore. What is most common through it is people click for directions to find out how to get to your location, or they click through to your website. So this is kind of a separate thing. This is totally separate from your standard Google Analytics. This is specifically has to do with your Google, just your Google business profile. And that gives you a nice little summary, tells you how much of the search was on mobile, how much the search was on desktop, how much the search was on maps, either mobile or desktop. So you can see even here, we've got 45, 55, 63% of all the search that this showed for the business profile was on mobile devices. So what can we do to, enhance our site on the mobile side? This will give you some ideas on what keywords people actually used to search that triggered that response. It doesn't necessarily mean they went to your website, but at least triggered that Google business profile, and that business profile came up and showed up in the search results. So definitely helps you kind of figure out, oh, what are the most common keywords? Assisted living near me. No surprise, right? That was done on a phone, most likely. Assisted living Littleton, Lighthouse, those are named listings. This one was Alzheimer's care. This one was a little general for Littleton, Highlands Ranch. So great information that's inside of your Google business profile. And again, you can add to it, enhance it, make it better. Most people, most businesses at all, regardless of which sector or industry, do not take the time to really be thorough in everything that they put together on their business profiles. So, all right, I've talked a lot. More questions? What else can we answer? What else can we talk about?
Peter, how much do you recommend in terms of spending for driving traffic through Google, like in Google Ads and things like that? Obviously, things can get pretty expensive. What is your recommendation of
Yeah, Google Ads can be tough, especially if you're, one or two small residential assisted living, to be just competitive. I mean, if you look just at what A Place for Mom and Caring.com spends on Google Ads, like it's kind of mind blowing. So to be a couple of small residential places to go, oh, I'm going to compete with them. So what we have found is that it takes a pretty sizable amount to at least get into the mix. So the thing you have to remember about Google Ads is that it's an auction, meaning that it's not just, I said I'm going to pay $10 for a click. Well, that's part of it, but there's 30 other businesses that want to get that same click for that assisted living near me. And some might bid 10 and some might bid 20. But it's not just about that. It's about, well, how long has this ad account been active and how well is the copy in the ad written? And how well does that match up to the landing page that they go to after they click the link? And so there's a lot of optimization that goes into Google Ads. So that takes time and effort to do. So you have the management of Google Ads to make them competitive, even if you're not going to spend a big budget. What we typically recommend, really as a starting place, it's a lot. Typically is $1,000 a month just on the Google Ads. And then you're probably going to pay $500 to $600 a month just for the management piece, which that kind of is like the minimum amount for ads management, because you can probably go to 2,000 or 3,000 a month and still be about 600 a month in the ads management. You're kind of at a minimum, cost of time effort there. in terms of ads management. So it's a big jump, you know, typically where I see folks start to do it once they get 5 or 6 communities or 7 communities, then you can spread out that cost amongst, you know, more locations and which is another strategy too. The more locations you have in an area, the more chances you're going to come up in a search result. So having, you know, 6 locations and all your Google pages optimized, Google business profiles optimized and up to date, you're going to get more traffic just from, you know, having more locations. So go buy some more locations, guys. Vern will help you out. More questions. How do you guys feel about using AI for creating content? Anybody doing that? Thinking about it? Scared of it? What are your thoughts? I know Vern is like this whole thing. I said I gave Vern, hey, I'll talk about blah blah blah, and he went and put this into Chat GPT, and this is what it spit out. And I
You
was
know,
like, yeah, that is what I want to talk about.
I don't know enough about it, but actually we're trying to learn more about that to do that. You know, we have someone helping us now that's trying to kind of point us in that direction because I mean I guess my general understanding is that you just have to keep it fresh and keep it more, you know, more stuff showing up so that you're popping up in the websites in general. So do you think AI can help with that?
Well, so I look at AI as, in particular, kind of the most basic thing that it does really, really well is help you write content. And so that's kind of the first thing, because a lot of times it's like, well, I don't know what I should write about and put on my website. Ask Chat GPT, like this is my business, this is what I do. What are some articles I could write to help my website? Chat GPT will tell you. And it'll be pretty good. And if you're not sure, send it to me and I'll look at it for you and make sure, like, yeah, I'll give you a stamp of approval, or I'll say change this and that, because you still want to personalize it. You know, a lot of times, you know, figuring out how to write a good prompt to get a really good result is kind of where you got to practice it. Like you got to go play with it. You got to do it. But you can crank out some content pretty quickly and still be quality content, because you can put your expertise and your eyes on it. You can personalize it. You can make it more friendly. You can make it more approachable, and use it as a tool to help you create that content, and then come up with a regular practice. Okay, I'm going to do a new blog post once a month, and it's going to be, you know, 1,000 words. And so, you know, when Chat GPT will at least give you a good solid framework, you know, you might spend a half hour or an hour on it once a month, and you've got a fresh piece of content that you can put on the website.
Regarding fresh content, if 4 of us go to Chat GTP and say, hey, write an article for me, or write something about assisted living, how do I know that it's not giving the same content to 6 other places that's just the same thing?
Well, I would say it probably would. That's why you have to be the one that nuances that, enhances that, because you don't want it to be exactly the same. So look, ask ChatGPT for more content ideas. What are some more articles? Do some Google searches. What are the most common questions that people have around assisted living, and see what else is out there, and have it give you the starter, like have it give you some bases, but then you make it better. You enhance it, you add some things to personalize it, and make some improvements on it. I would not just take an article straight out of Chat GPT and then throw that on your website. It's not going to be the worst thing. It's at least fresh content, but it may not be that compelling. You know, and it kind of depends on, you know, how well you prompted. If you did a decent prompt, Google might love it. If you did a terrible prompt, Google might be like, yeah, that wasn't so good. So, ultimately your eyes and your expertise is what really enhances it and makes it better.
And does ChatGTP put or other AI generators, do they quote their sources? Or if I asked it to, would it quote its sources? Or does it just write something that is like a junior high paper that just doesn't?
Well, it's better than junior high. It won't typically quote a source. I am seeing some options with some of the newer versions where you can start to ask like for it to provide sources and give that. So I haven't done that myself per se, but but if there's some particular stats or something like that, then it is getting better at being able to provide you a source if it's something that needs that.
So
Okay,
I've been
Ryan?
doing a lot of
Go ahead.
webinars and stuff on ChatGPT to help me write the best prompts to get the best output. And yes, so sometimes when I do them, it will give me a source. It might give me, I know I did one the other day and it gave me like 3 different websites that it pulled information from.
Yep. Brian, you had something?
I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah.
I use it all the time and I request that it gets me the references because it's just a machine. It doesn't really understand the subject. It's just putting it together in patterns. And so if I can check those sources myself, I can usually put together something that makes it better.
Yeah.
You really have to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And again, the other content that's just great, that, you or your staff and, pay your staff a little extra money. Can you take some pictures of the birthday party today? Can you make a little video and upload it to Facebook from the birthday party today? Like that stuff, some of that stuff gets a little viral. Like you start having a party and grandma starts dancing and like all of a sudden it's like all over. Like they're like, those people are damn cute. Old people are damn cute, like, so that's all accessible. That's all totally unique. That's all, branded with you. Like that's great content, in terms of just social and social reach and getting that stuff out there. So, use the best device you have, which is everybody's mobile phones, for getting, cool, awesome content that, is totally unique. Other questions, thoughts, problems, challenges?
Anybody?
Anybody? All right, let's see. Anything else I can mention here? I think the other thing I didn't really talk about this as owned media. I just want to throw this in real quick. Capturing, when you capture a lead on your website and have a contact form, make sure that that's going into something like MailChimp or something that you can have that follow-up email, and do that once a month blog post and then send out an email saying, hey, we got a new blog post, and do that once a month just to remind people that you're still out there, you're still doing stuff. Throw in the picture of the birthday party that you had that month. And it doesn't have to be complicated, but building that email list and at least communicating with it once a month or so is a great source, because you don't know, that person may not have been a person that moved in, their family didn't move in or something, but 6 months down the road, they've loved all the stuff that you sent out and they know someone else that needs assisted living and they're like, hey, you should check out these guys. So that consistent communication's super important.
So do you think MailChimp, or do you have a better one for CRM and email?
MailChimp or Constant Contact. The other one, let me put a link in the chat. This is a fairly new one that's out there, but it's super inexpensive. It's super easy to use, and it does a lot of stuff. It's called System.io, and fairly new, but it'll send out, you can capture emails and send out emails. But MailChimp, Constant Contact, System.io, they're all pretty much similar, easy to use, low cost options. You can always get more fancy with CRMs. There's lots of CRMs and email marketing tools out there, but those will at least get the basics for you put together.
Good stuff, Peter. That was very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you guys have any questions, or you're like, hey, will you look at my stuff and tell me how my stuff's doing? We got lots of tools that we use to evaluate things and kind of see what's happening. We're happy to do that. We don't really charge to evaluate things. And Linda, when she remembers she's one of my clients, she'll schedule a meeting and go, what am I supposed to be doing again? And what are you doing? And, and then we update, we're like, this is what we're doing. This is what's happening. So, some of those things we do for her. So we keep her Google business profile updated, and we do some citations and link building stuff, and a lot of basics, what I call just kind of evergreen, the most basic stuff. It doesn't guarantee you're going to show up in the search results, but you got to do it to have a chance. Because it's really all about the competition and how much competition is going on around you. And so, you got to build and do what you can. And then again, on a budget, we have so many more ways to create content now where you don't have to pay a marketing firm to create your content for you. The best content you guys can do is the content you do already. And again, off your cell phones and using the tools we have now to write and create really good content. So, and make a video, pop yourself up and make a video of yourself going, hey, this is why I do this. And this is why I care. And, throw that on your website, throw that on your socials, don't be afraid to, make yourself part of that piece. People connect with people. People want authenticity. People want reality. And so the more that we can do that, the better, especially with the more we see AI generated content, AI videos, people are going to be hungry for authentic. They're going to be hungry for people. And so that's always been the best option, and it's still going to be in the long run. So anyway. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Vern.
Thank you,
turn it over
Peter.
to you.
Appreciate it. Round of applause.
Thank you,
Thank
Peter.
you.
Bet.
All right.